A major hospital system in Tennessee actually made huge changes after journalists with ProPublica called them out. Basically, it was an investigation into Methodist Le Bonheur and their aggressive debt collection practices, and it prompted the hospital to erase at least $11.9 million in debts owed by thousands of people. From 2014 through 2018, Methodist sued more than 8,300 people for unpaid hospital bills, including many people who were low income. The hospital is Memphis, Tennessee's largest, and it garnished hundreds of workers' paychecks, including those of its own employees. And I'll tell you more about that later, but basically the hospital started dropping lawsuits less than a week. They started dropping them from court dockets less than a week after the investigation was published. And by the end of July, the hospital had completed an internal review, pronounced itself humbled, and announced an overhaul of its policies, and then of course started to erase the debts.
So this whole system is brutal.
Yeah.
And so I talk to folks now all the time, and they say, well, I'm worried if I get sick, it's over. I lose my house, I lose everything. And they have insurance. So because sometimes deductibles are so high. And remember, John Fugelsang said it in the last hour, 69% of Americans don't have $1,000 saved up. So, I mean, if you got a deductible over $1,000, you're done, okay? You lose everything. So we're bankrupting people millions at a time through this brutal private insurance system and the hospital system and all of these things, and then we chase them down to the end of the earth to get the money. It's not just premiums and deductibles. There's co-pays. There's sometimes caps, lifetime caps. Well, there you go. You run into a lifetime cap, you're bankrupt, and that's if you're lucky enough to have insurance. If you don't have insurance in this country, it's just, I know it's unbelievable. For people that don't live in America, they literally cannot believe it. But if you don't have health insurance in this country and you can't get it because you're poor enough to get Medicaid or anything along those lines, or you're old enough to get Medicare, and you get cancer, we just let you die. Yep. We just let you die.
Yeah, they also have these other hustles. Like I went to the dentist not too long ago and I needed to get a crown. And they inflated prices, and then they'd suggest a credit card company that will cover the dental costs. But the interest rate on that credit card is so ridiculous. It's just another handcuff to put a person who doesn't have money in. And I was just sitting there like, you know, I have better sense than to take this. But you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's a hustle. But what I was gonna say is, this brings a new meaning to if you see something, say something. And this is what we need to be using journalism for. Yeah. And this is what we need to be using our voices for. Because through this one particular action, some poor people and some people who needed help got seen and got heard and got considered. And that's important.
Yeah, can I just double down on that? Because earlier in the show, I yelled at mainstream media journalists because they just discovered that maybe the Trump people might not be telling the truth. Okay, but as I told you then, I'm telling you, sometimes there's wonderful journalism, and that's what we want to encourage. That's a great thing. So ProPublica, great job, because this is how you bring justice in the world. You're supposed to, what's the saying? You're supposed to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Yep. If you're a journalist. Unfortunately, a lot of the journalists in this country, a lot of the media in this country has reversed it. They defend the powerful and the elites, but there are still great journalists that do amazing work which brings truth and justice into the world and helps people.
Yeah, and to all the Christians out there, the Bible says, buy the truth and don't sell it.
I want to show you the different amounts that people owe, just a little bit about that. The smallest balance owed was 2 cents. The highest was more than $41,000, and that was actually owed by a couple who was sued in 2011 for more than $32,000, and that includes attorney fees and court costs. And this hospital bill was from Le Bonheur Children's Hospital, so this was them taking their child to the hospital. The new policy, Methodist says they will no longer sue anyone, regardless of insurance status, whose household income is less than 250% of the federal poverty line, which means they were doing that. Like, that's absurd. And you noted something about, like, this is not even just people who don't have insurance, even if you work for Methodist, because Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare has sued many of its own employees over unpaid medical bills and garnishes their wages. Also, its healthcare plan prevents them from going to competitors with better financial assistance.
So
That's absurd. That's awful. This is a Christian hospital.
I met another guy recently, and he said that he was out trying to help progressives win. I said, why? He said, I need Medicare for all. I said, well, you look like you might already have Medicare. He said, oh, I do. But my wife, she went to the hospital, and they didn't. The insurance, the hospital didn't want her racking up bills, so they shoot her out of the hospital. Turns out she had internal bleeding. Oh, God. And then she died because they wanted to save money. Look, guys, there are some things that the private industry should run, sneakers, jeans, etc. There's other things that the government should run because our lives depend on it. So, fire departments. Can you imagine right now, because 45,000 people a year die because they don't have health insurance. Could you imagine if we had private fire insurance like we used to back in the day, and we said, oh, well, yeah, I know, but they didn't have fire insurance, so we let 45,000 people burn to death every year. That's in essence what we're doing when we don't have government doing health insurance, not the whole industry. And so, look, as we celebrate journalism here and getting a great result, don't let the mainstream media lie to you. If you get Medicare for all, everyone has insurance. And everyone has better insurance than the insurance they have now. Even one of the most conservative Democrats who hates Medicare for all acknowledged to me, it's on tape, said yes, Medicare for all gives you the Cadillac plan. He called it, quote, awesome insurance. He's worried about the cost, that's nonsense too. But you would have better insurance, no one could be denied. You can go to any doctor, any hospital. And it's not like, oh my God, how we're so magnanimous in America. No. Every developed country has single payer universal healthcare coverage that has a similar system. We're the only ones who don't. We're the only ones who are barbaric enough not to. And then when you run into financial troubles, then you have hospitals chasing you down and trying to ruin your life to get that money from you.
Yeah, and to those people that live in like those racist communities and are really scared that the Mexicans are coming to take your jobs, and you will bite your nose to spite your face. You got a better chance at getting cancer than having a run-in with those Mexicans. So you get your priorities right, because a lot of these people who are opposed to this are because they are allowing their racism to drive their car. And Donald Trump is stoking it daily. But you are hurting yourself and your well-being and the well-being of your family, because a lot of you people are not wealthy and you are struggling. But because you think that a Mexican is gonna come get you or a black person is gonna come get you, you are biting your nose to spite your face. You will eventually feel the wrath of all of the foolishness that this administration is trying to press down on you. You will feel it.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.